This is Countdown to Economic Collapse, October 2nd, 2011. I'm David John Sponheim for America's Third Party. Welcome. Well, again, it feels like a repeat of last week. The Dow down 240 points. There are protesters on Brooklyn Bridge. They're calling it the battle over the Brooklyn Bridge. 1,000 protesters actually occupying Wall Street, saying that they want justice. They want the people that are responsible for this mortgage debacle to pay up. They want the big traders on Wall Street to somehow lay claim to the tremendous debacle that's going on around the world in the investment community, and it's affecting everybody at home here in the United States. These people are making valid points, but they also have to target the real problem, which is the president. And you notice they aren't saying Barack Obama is at fault here. That's because these are leftists who are probably being planted there to raise the specter of Wall Street and lower the damaging effects of having a president who's failed. Now, the president's top political advisor, David Axelrod, has stated that Obama has a titanic task ahead of him to get reelected. And he said that most likely the Republicans are going to be the reason why Obama is reelected. Well, in a way, he has a good point. Number one, it is a titanic task, and Barack Obama is like leading the Titanic into the undersea of economic disaster. So it could very well be the thing that will break our economy. Having a president like Barack Obama is essentially like taking the Titanic out, hitting an iceberg, having no rudder because he is a rudderless president, and having a nation fall into the gap of having no job plan, no manufacturing solution, no production, instead relying on the same old things that the Democrats have been pulling out of their cupboard for a long time. The idea of transportation jobs, teacher jobs. That's failing this nation. That's not going to create real solutions to our core economic problems. So in a way, the Democrats are portraying themselves as having new wine in old bottles and claiming that the Republicans have old wine in old bottles. I say the Democrats actually have vinegar in broken bottles. Now, what David Axelrod is trying to do is do serious damage control for a president that has slipped. Now, he's not only slipped there, but he's slipped around the world. Pakistan is in a situation where they're now looking at possibly negotiating a deal directly with the Afghanistan government and Hamid Karzai, who believes that the Taliban is no longer a negotiating party. Now, in a way, that's a good thing. The problem is Barack Obama is systematically alienating Pakistan. As you see, if the Pakistan government and the Afghanistan government become essentially partners in attacking the Taliban and leave the American people out, it's entirely possible that they could turn on us as well. And they could turn internally and have a major shift of religious beliefs, which could ultimately endanger the world. They could easily become a radical Muslim union. Now, that's essentially a problem because our country is trying to produce fairness, trying to get the rights of women to be treated properly. Getting rid of Sharia law is something that is a very high priority for the American people. We don't want that imposed on our own nation. We don't want these people coming into our country telling women, subjugating them, treating them like garbage, and then expecting us to tolerate that religion. That isn't a religion, it's a persecution. So we are actually fighting that. And our president, who I believe is Muslim, is leading us nowhere, betraying our allies like Pakistan and putting us in a very vulnerable position. Now, this is happening around the other parts of the world: Yemen, Sudan, Egypt, and of course Libya. Now, our president has got to pull it together. He can't seem to understand our global geopolitical objective, which is peace. Now, there's talk of peace from Israel. We can get back to the trading table with Israel as opposed to alienating them, like Barack Obama has done. And various major events, like the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki, has actually created a bit of turmoil because his absence from the Al-Qaeda network shows that we have absolute authority in killing any one of their people, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, people like Ron Paul believe that it's not right to kill an American, even though he's a terrorist. So we've got people within our own country that are trying to erode the very civil structure of our own political objectives around the world, like Ron Paul. So I must tell you, this is a mess, and we are in need of a centrist president. I believe that our country could easily get back on track. We could forge a better relationship with the people of England. And I don't mean the elitists of England, because David Cameron obviously is doing the work of the elitists. And they don't care what happens to England or America because they're encouraging immigration into their countries, which is eroding the very stability of both England and America. Now, my family came over to this country in the 1600s from England. And I can tell you, it's a serious situation when England is turning on its own people, that they're afraid to live in their own streets. The flash mobs that occurred in Manchester and Liverpool and throughout England has left a lot of English people very afraid. And David Cameron is coming out saying, we need to infuse money and capital and credit into creating housing. Well, apparently credit and infusing capital has led England to their crisis, much as it has in America. I suggest to both England and America that we start building up from within, revitalizing our nation, rebuilding the homes, essentially renovating them, not building new ones, but renovating them. And that's central to our Homestead Renewal Plan, which is the primary way we're to create jobs in America. We're going to stimulate the private sector as well, because we'll be buying products from like Lowe's and Home Depot and others, which will help get our nation back on track. The product end of our nation's production cycle will be innovation. Brand new windmills that can be put on top of electric poles. This is an idea I came up with in 2008. The idea of solar rooftops all around the country, initially funded by the government, but ultimately paid back with green energy. That's different than what people like David Cameron are suggesting. They're talking about creating new housing in a country that already has plenty of housing, like our nation does. Both of our economies are stagnating. And if we constantly move in this direction, we will see a gentle erosion of the structure of our government. You'll see more protests like the battle over the Brooklyn Bridge. You'll see a lot more hostility within the nation, and that's not something the American people or the English people need. That's something that both of our countries will lose ultimately, and what we need to attain is housing for everybody, essentially a job for as many people as possible, and a way in which the English or the US economy can prosper. Now, I refer to the English because I really believe that if England begins to tumble, the entire euro will collapse. I don't believe the euro will collapse simply because of what's happening in Greece or Italy or Spain. But one of the problems I'm seeing is our nation is funding companies now, a Spanish company, to create ethanol in our country. The loan guarantee is $134 million. What about our country? What about the people in the streets of America that need a job? What about the small businesses that need funding? I have a dentist that claims he can't get a multi-million-dollar loan, even though he has dentists that want to rent the office space he wants to build above him. Instead, we give loans to foreign countries. You see how messed up this is? Well, I can tell you I will have a greater solution for Wall Street. We will strengthen the power and oversight of the SEC, and we'll get it back to where we control the amount of margin trading and futures trading that's crippling and imbalancing our economy. And you'll see Wall Street begin to calm down. Right now it's like yo-yo economics, and that's not helping our nation. It's actually creating a sense of lack of confidence and instability. So we are on the right track at America's Third Party. I urge you to join us in our weekly nightly show, 6 to 8 p.m. And it is a wonderful way in which you can interact with me, ask me questions, and I can respond in real time. And I can begin to be the virtual president of the future. I'm David John Sponheim for America's Third Party, and I support this message.
Check us out at americasthirdparty.com.